Welcome back to a new episode of Marathon's Marketing Moment. I'm Skip Cohen, and my co-host is Marathon's Mark Weber. Now, the two of us have a combined history in photography of, I think we figured out once, it's over 90 years. But I got to tell everybody, it's gone by so fast. It's really unbelievable. Now, Mark is a professional photographer with a great business background, as well as education and consulting at Marathon Press. He's got a great list of accolades over the years, which is absolutely the sign of somebody who truly loves this industry. And in terms of my background, I love it just as much as Mark, but I've always focused on the business and marketing side of imaging. And that's where my journey continues to go after all these years, and I love it. We want to share an idea today. It's about building a stronger brand as well as business and marketing skills. Think about it. What good is it working to create the finest images of your career if nobody knows who you are? So today we're going to be talking about building a referral program. With each episode of Marathon's Marketing Moments, we've shared different ideas, things we've learned, even occasionally mistakes we've learned. And you might as well learn from some of our mistakes so you can make brand new ones all your own. So in terms of referral programs, your very best ambassadors are clients you've already worked with, unless you were a complete hockey puck and just aggravated the crap out of them. So on that note, Mark, welcome to your podcast. Where do you want to start, buddy?
You know what? First of all, that's nothing you and I have ever done.
No, not much.
We may have annoyed the crap out of each other, but nobody else.
Well, I know there have been, actually, if I look back over my career, I mean, there were a few customers, and this is the problem with communicating when you're not talking to somebody face to face. But I've gotten some horrible emails and letters over the years that have blamed everything on me or the company I was working for. It's like, hey, it's your fault that the pandemic started. No, it's not. And the problem is all in communication. And I think today as consumers, we always assume the worst. If somebody doesn't call you back right away, you assume they're not going to call you back. If you don't get an email back from a company you wrote to right away, you assume that they don't care. And all of that, when you talk about a referral program, is all about building a relationship with your clients. And it all really comes down to that. And sometimes the written word is the hardest one of all to communicate with, because you don't get the inflection in the voice. You can't talk to the person directly and look them in the eye if that's the kind of program you're running or you're at a conference. So I could go on babbling. I don't mean to.
No, that's so true. And it brings me back to when the last time I went shopping at, whether it be, I don't care where it is, Walmart, a coffee shop, wherever. And they're always asking for testimonials, and there's a reason why they say, you have the opportunity to win a $1,000 gift certificate to a shopping spree at our store, because they know that people are 4 times more likely to buy a product when they're referred by either a friend, or it can be somebody who is a social influencer, or it's in a news publication, wherever it might be. That's the power of referrals. And that's something that starts with us. Every time we're face to face with a customer, it's great to just be able to say, hey, our business was built on the recommendation of friends, and we'd appreciate it if you'd recommend us. And if you can give them some sort of incentive and some printed materials to hand out, that's a win-win, because they already know and love you at that point. They trust you. They know they're really excited to get the prints that you just sold them. So the timing of that is, excellent right after you've done the sale.
Well, there's a quote that I've used before, and I'm going to probably wind up butchering it a little bit, but you'll get the point. I can't remember whose quote it is, but it essentially was about customer service. And the comment was, your goal is to have each customer so satisfied that they not only come back, but they insist that their friends check you out. Mm-hmm. And that's really what it's all about. We are a word of mouth business, and you can sit there all day long and say, wow, look how beautiful my website is, and look at all the things that I've done out there that have my name on them. But the point is, we're a word of mouth business. And to me, it all starts with there's some real basics of just staying in contact with your previous customers. Everybody is always looking for new customers. And that's part of the reason why you have a referral program. But you've got to stay in touch with the old ones so that you got to keep feeding the machine.
Absolutely. And I don't know the last time, anytime you're making some sort of investment in something new, whether it be a dentist, a mechanic, um, the beer you drink, the bourbon that you buy, usually you ask somebody that you kind of know and trust and say, what do you think of this? Or there's times I'm just in the store and I pull up my phone and I'll pull up a YouTube video on somebody that did a review on a particular product because I have a few followers that I trust that I've not been steered wrong with that helps me understand, do I want to pop $60 for this bottle of bourbon that I don't want to go home and take a sip out of and go, this is not good. So that's kind of where we are as photographers is just, we're asking for some pretty good dollars on the products and services that we provide. And so that's why it's important to know that the people that have done business with you are truly happy and thrilled and do want to recommend you.
I found the quote that I was talking about. The actual quote was loyal customers, they don't just come back, they don't simply recommend you, they insist that their friends do business with you. And
The
that's by
insist part.
and that's by Chip Bell. But there's also a line that Scott Bourne shared in a blog post he did on my blog many years ago, and he just had a sign positioned in his reception area of his business that's just said, "Our studio is both sustained and honored by your referral of family and friends. Thank you." That's a very simple, low
Clean.
key.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's not a hard sell program. It just says, "Hey, please tell your friends about us." And it was done on a printed piece that was just on display in his studio. So the people saw that when they came in, and it started to plant the seed. And when you were talking about, referrals before, I'm thinking about the restaurants. I mean, I live in Sarasota. It is a tourist area. We are loaded with restaurants here. I can't tell you how many times Sheila and I have gone to a restaurant because it was recommended by a friend. And we all do
Hmm.
that. You have a great dinner. It's not just reading a review as you were talking about it, but it's just word of mouth. And a friend says, "Oh my God, have you eaten at?" In fact, we've got one here called Sardinia that is our favorite restaurant, and we were just there for our anniversary. We found it because it was recommended by a good friend.
Nice.
So, what do you think about frequent buyer clubs,
Yeah,
by the way?
another excellent strategy with that. Absolutely. It's something that two things come to mind when you mention that. It used to be that Walden's bookstore had when they were in business, they had a frequent buyers club, if you will, there. And we loved it because it was free. You signed up every book you bought. Um, you got a certain reward that you earned toward a future purchase. Now there's other bookstores out there you have to pay in order to get that discount. And there's other game stores like that too. I dislike those. I may end up spending more money than I would have, saved, or I would have saved more money had I joined, but it's it's all in how you set that up. And I may just be the kind of consumer that doesn't see the value in it by putting cash up front unless it was something that they did a better job of explaining to me or motivating me or giving me an incentive to show me differently. But that's something we can learn as photographers from the big boys. There's people in the franchises that they've studied this. They know this is a great way to give the customer an incentive, and we should follow suit and do something similar.
Well, I think it's all about staying active and out in the very early days of the internet. There was an expression called top of mind awareness, which I think is still it's not that it's irrelevant. You just don't hear the expression that much anymore. But it's all about top of mind awareness, so that when somebody is thinking about a photograph or needing some kind of imaging support, your name and your business comes up. And when I think about referral programs, specifically, there are bounce back things you could do. I mean, we see them all the time with other purchases. I think Amazon might even have one is refer a friend to Amazon Prime and you get something back, get the Amazon credit card and you get a percentage back. They're all things that drive repeat business. But there's an interesting story. Cindy Harder Sims, sorry, is based in a little town in Georgia. And I did a podcast with her. She's done a few guest posts on my blog. And Cindy was the music teacher in town. Everybody knew her. Now, this is a small town, and she's got her studio that she opened up. That was her dream, right on Main Street. She saved her money. She took every possible class she could take so that when the day she opened on literally, this is Main Street, USA, everybody knew, oh, that's the music lady. Well, when the pandemic hit, because she's built up an incredible reputation in the community, she's involved in the community. This is her community. Most of the kids in the community, at some point, depending on how old they are, probably took a music class with Cindy. And here she was a teacher living her dream. When the pandemic hit, she literally went out to the community. And she talks about it in a podcast that I did with her, where she discusses her quest to keep her business alive and continue to give back to her community. And she went to the community and basically said, guys, here's what's happening. And I know the pandemic scares us all, but I'm here and I'm in business and I want to keep supporting you and I need your help. And the community absolutely came to her rescue. And she also diversified over the years. So if she was primarily doing portraits at one point, she kept expanding into maternity, newborns. I know she's done some weddings. Her daughter is an artist, and I know there was a story where she was doing weddings together with her daughter, where her daughter was sketching, painting, creating a piece of original art of the bride and groom during the wedding as Cindy was doing the photography. So it's all about
Wow.
being involved.
Yes. And to be that direct too, not everybody maybe knows or feels comfortable being as direct about it as Cindy did, but that's brilliant. I love that.
Well, again, we were talking about it's about relationship building, it's about staying in contact. There are little things that you and I do these days after after years of experience. One is to answer emails quickly. When you get a contact, you're talking about building a reputation so the customers want to refer you. It's not just you can't just put in a referral program and say, "Hey everybody, when you do this and refer a customer, you're going to get a free 8 by 10. You're going to get a new album. You're going to get a discount. You're going to get something." You have to have the relationship first. People
Yeah.
have to love working with you. And you and I have talked about Beverly and Tim Walden before, because Beverly and Tim talk very openly about you're not doing a portrait, you're creating an experience. And the better that experience is, once again, it's word of mouth, the more people are going to talk about it.
So true. Yeah. Everything that we do has to be an experience, whether it's from that first phone call to final delivery of prints. I call it the Disney experience. Every aspect of your dealings with Disney is just a joy, and it's something to aspire to in your business.
Well, years ago, I've lost track of them, but years ago, I had a friend in Vegas who was a realtor. Now, I don't know what you call it. This is like an inverted referral program. Whenever he lost a listing, he would go back to that homeowner and very nicely pick up the phone, call them, and say, "Hey, I really appreciate you giving me the time. I want to build the best business in Vegas. Can you tell me in all honesty, what did you feel we were missing that you didn't want to work with our office?"
Interesting.
And it was the answers he got gave him all the clues that he needed to keep building a stronger business. And a lot of times I've thought about what would happen if photographers who were contacted and didn't get the wedding contacted that client again very nicely. And if you don't get an
Hmm.
answer, you don't get an answer. It's not a big deal. But very low key, soft sell, and just said, "Hey, I'm really excited. I'm glad you found somebody you were happy with, but I'm excited about being part of this community. Could you just give me some ideas of what things did we miss? What did
It's
you not see in my work?"
it's
Um,
interesting that you share that because from a photographer standpoint of view, I had a friend of mine that did this a few years ago, and he ended up thinking it was a price point. And what he found out was that he just wasn't motivating the same as others of his competition. Just out of curiosity, what did your friend find out about his business, or did you know, or did you find out?
well, I just remember him talking about one of the things was they didn't like they didn't feel that he had the depth. If I remember right, one thing was in the images that somebody looked at on a listing. Now, again, I'm going back. This is pre-internet now.
Sure.
So I'm going way back to how important photography was when you looked at an MLS listing
Mhm.
at the time. That was one piece. Another piece was, I think it was price related, and it might have been the start where somebody came in with a lower commission. Whatever it was something like that. And I don't remember any of the others. All I remember is that as an idea, it just seemed brilliant to me, so that you keep learning and understanding what's missing in your business when you don't get the job.
That is one of
So
the
yeah,
best advices I've heard. Yes.
well there you
That's what
go,
you want to hear. Yeah. Because
and
those are
that's
the
why
things you
you and
learn
I are
from.
here babbling.
Hey, by the way, um, what do you find for people when they ask for referrals? Do they hand out cards? What do you typically hear from photographers?
Well, I don't know that many photographers that really do it seriously. Those that do have brochures. Um, I don't know if she has a program like this, but I'm betting that Kay Eskridge has got something very cool that she does in terms of her pet portraits. It's about getting images out in the community so that people can see your work. I can almost bet that half of her pet clients have come to her because somebody else got an incredible shot of their pet, and now they want Kay to do it. So it is
Yeah.
about it goes back to building a brand. And it is business cards, it is a brochure. Personally, I happen to love an oversized postcard rather than the old style accordion brochure. I also happen to love an email piece that you can send out and have shared. I also love it when people do things that are under the umbrella of cause-related marketing, where you'll run a program where a percentage of all sales for a particular length of time might go back. I know at one point there were people doing it for PPA Charities when PPA Charities was alive. At other times, there are things that are going on right now today where somebody is involved in community portraiture, for example, and a percentage is going back to a nonprofit within the community. So there are things like that. So you're not really just handing something out, but you're also sharing a concept idea of how to better support your community.
I love one of my favorite things of working at Marathon is I get to see so many different pieces come through the lab. And I've seen referral cards anywhere from just business size to an absolutely gorgeous folded with die cut and an insert for another card to go inside of it. But bottom line, it just comes down to whatever you do, even if you don't use any, just building that into your repertoire every single time. It's almost like asking, how did you hear about the studio? That's how you learn about your advertising. And the same thing goes when you're complete with your session and your sale. That's when the excitement is the most high and that the trust is most there with you and you've built that relationship. That's, where you hand them something. And whether it's an oversized card or a business card or whatever, that's something that gives somebody tangible, something to hand out. And the nice thing is you can follow up too and just say, in an email or whatever, or just if somebody you've got a great relationship with, just and say, do you need any more referral cards? And remind them, our reward. And some people do $50 studio credit. Some people do 100. I knew a studio I spoke to a couple of years ago that he found giving a $200 incentive. He was in California and he just needed something a little more um, of value to be able to motivate this particular client. And so it just comes down to the type of customer that you've got there. If you've had a good sale from them, you want their friends to come into you as well.
Yeah, I mean, when I look back at so many different programs, I mean, if you think about Now I Lay Me Down to Sleep, that originally started that came out of a display of images that Sandy Putsch had, I believe, at a local hospital in Colorado at the time, and people saw her work. And I think of things like kiosks in malls. Again, the pandemic slowed everybody down on that, and I'm talking old school, but it's how you get the word out there and how you share your images. And if you look at if you take, all right, nobody's going to the mall as much as they used to, even though it's slowly getting back on track. If you take that same concept and say, okay, what can I do? What can I do on my website? What can I do on my blog? How can I show the very best of my work and share it? And how can I become more active in the community? And it all comes back to almost everything we've talked about. I mean, it's very specific when we talk about a business card or a brochure or a $50 credit that you might get, or a $200 credit, like you mentioned, the guy in California. But when you come down to it all, the definition of a referral program, it all falls under everything that we've talked about, just about in every single podcast so far. It's building
You
the
got
brand.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're actually out of time, by the way, but I'll
Yeah.
hang out with you all day long.
Now, it's definitely a part of the important part of your marketing mix. And I hope everybody, it's such a simple thing to implement. So I hope everybody, if you're not doing that or not doing a good job with it, start that. It's so easy to do.
Yeah, and if you've got an idea, or you're doing something that has been really effective in your community, what I love about our industry is so many artists are not afraid to share other ideas with other artists elsewhere. It's not as if they're gonna, somebody in the middle of Des Moines is going to suddenly move into your territory in Cleveland and take over your business because you gave them a great idea. So if you've got an idea, my email address is skip@mei500.com. We'd love to hear it. Everything I write is shared on skipcohenuniversity.com, and Facebook, I'm Skip Cohen, and Twitter, I'm Skip Cohen. So write to me. And just to close us out, Mark, where do they go to find you for more help?
I'm available at markw@marathonpress.net, or you can call me at 800-228-0629, extension 283.
And hey, everybody, thanks for joining us on this new Marathon Marketing Moment. And we'll be back with another one in a few weeks.